Transmitter device activated. Coordinates set for Earth 2.
Hey everyone, welcome to the Earth 2 podcast, your weekly exploration of the DC Comics multiverse and the legacy of their Golden Age characters through the Silver and the Bronze Ages of comics. I'm Peter Watson.
And I'm David Steele. Welcome back. Thank you for joining us. It feels like a long time since we've actually recorded, but it probably isn't. How odd, how unusual. Listeners, we have finally left 1976 behind. After Peter and I finish recording today, I'm going to go and update the cover photo on the Facebook page to reflect 1977 because we're no longer in the year of the bicentennial. So that photograph that I took ages ago is now no longer accurate.
Oh well. Regular
listeners will be aware that we've passed through a few interesting periods in DC history whilst we've been doing the show. We passed through the era of the 52-page giants, and we passed through the era of the 100-page super spectaculars,
oh, yes.
And we've now reached the dawn of the dollar comics. And this week we're going to be reading from issue 244 of World's Finest Comics, published on the 13th of January, 1977. Pete's going to tell us about the cover, and listeners, see if you can guess which story we're going to read and which ones we'll just talk about from the cover.
At the top left corner, the big blockbuster. We have a red DC bullet, but it forms part of almost like a barbell. Because you get the DC bullet in the top left, then it says Dollar Comics across the banner, and then there's another DC bullet-shaped circle in the top right corner that says May, $1, number 244. Under that, production code 30730. 80 pages, all new stories, World's Finest Comics. And we have some floating heads right beside the logo, telling us some of the people who are featuring in this issue. They are Wonder Woman, Black Canary, Green Arrow, Vigilante. But the main image in the cover are our two mainstays of World's Finest Comics. That is, of course, Superman and Batman. Superman on the left, Batman on the right. They are both grimacing, and they are looking down at a green orb, it looks like, and in it is a shadowy figure sitting on a strange-looking chair, holding a large rifle. And the text says, Superman and Batman are helpless to stop him killing everyone on Earth. Who is this man? And in case you weren't aware, featuring in this comic, there are 5 action-packed adventures.
Gosh, $1 for this comic, honestly. It's a bargain.
Certainly is.
It's an excellent comic.
20 cents per story.
Yes. $1.25 a page or something, maybe. Pete and I have talked how we're going to get through the dollar comics.
Mm-hmm.
We're obviously going to do the ones that are pertinent, and we'd kind of forgotten that the Wonder Woman of Earth 2 / World War 2 appeared in a few issues. And kind of like what we've decided to do with the main series, we're going to summarise some stories and read others.
Yeah.
Depending on who guest stars and what's going on. So this one, as Pete mentioned there, Vigilante is on the roll call. So we're delighted we're going to read the Vigilante story. We're just going to summarise the Wonder Woman story, but we're going to chat about the rest of the stuff briefly as well. I have to say the Superman and Batman story, without a shadow of doubt in this, is one of the best, most entertaining comics I've read in years.
Really? Wow.
I loved it. The story's called 3 Billion Targets, written by Bob Haney, with art by Jose Garcia Lopez and Murphy Anderson.
Oh, wow. There's a combination. Excellent.
And it's basically, it kind of starts off as a sort of murder mystery, where 3 men seemingly assassinated, and then Superman is suspected as being responsible, but it all turns out that it's a guy who's travelled back from the future and is trying to change things so that his future time of Earth, a couple of hundred years hence, is not going to be as polluted and wrecked as it is.
Oh, very prescient.
It's very Bob Haney.
Yeah.
In that it's very dense and it's a bit twisty-turny, but I was reading through this and I'm going, this is amazing. I wish genuinely we were doing a World's Finest podcast because I'd be looking forward to this one. It's immensely satisfying, and listeners, if you've got a copy of 244, pause what we are saying and go and read the Superman and Batman story first.
The next story up is Black Canary in Rainbows of Doom. Now, this is a Jack C. Harris story, but the most striking thing about this story is the incredible art from Mike Nasser and Terry Austin. Black Canary looks stunning.
Yeah, not to be all irredeemable about it or anything, but I don't think she kind of looks better in one panel of the next issue, but we'll get to that. But no, she looks phenomenal. There's obviously a touch of the Mike Grells or the Neil Adams or something to this artwork.
I can definitely see that, yeah.
Yeah, it's cracking. It's very, very dynamic. And as you say, Daniel looks sensational.
There's a fantastic panel of her rushing forward, and there's all these like speed lines showing action and pace and dynamism behind her. Basically, the story features the return of the old Green Arrow villain, the Rainbow Archer. And it's quite funny because in our discussion with Ollie about who this villain could be, back when they didn't know who it was, Ollie thinks it might be the Blue Bowman. And of course, the Blue Bowman eventually became David's favourite, the Signal Man. Yay!
Yes, of course, yes. Yeah, because I think this isn't too long after Signalman's appearance in Detective Comics. I think it's around this area.
Yeah, and that's mentioned on here. But that moves us into the next story, which is Green Arrow, and it's still Mike Nasser on art with Terry Austin. Tony Isabella's writing this one, and again, it just looks absolutely stunning. Oliver Queen has never looked better.
Yes, not to be irredeemable about it or anything.
Yes. And this features a character called Slingshot, who, funnily enough, wields a slingshot. There you go.
Can you imagine?
I'm imagining it right now, but the artwork is absolutely sensational.
Yes.
There's a really cool panel where it's kind of splits, and on one half of it, you've got Ollie's Green Arrow face looking solemn, looking down, and the other half of it is basically the head is Slingshot looking solemn and looking down. And it's just the layout of this is just beautiful, stunning.
My favourite part of the story was page 7, when they're sort of fighting in a speeding car.
Yeah.
And it's just a 9-panel grid. Mm-hmm. I might stick it on the socials this week because it's amazing. And in this 9-panel grid, there's a whole array and range of sound effects, including
Screek, Chuck, Screek, Woomph, Pow, Screek, Crash.
Listeners, it's like you're there, isn't it? It's great. More bang for your buck and all that sort of stuff. It's really, really enjoyable. Really enjoyed reading the whole issue. Again, this has probably sat in my collection for decades without ever being opened, I think. It's quite interesting that the Black Canary and Green Arrow stories sort of flow into each other.
Yeah.
And they do that in some of the other issues that are subsequent and imminent as well. So we'll talk about them a little bit when we get there. But we've now reached the story we're going to read properly from this issue, starring the Vigilante. Now, a few years ago, we did Vigilante's appearances in Adventure Comics, which followed on from his appearances in issues 78 and 79 of Justice League of America. And then we had great hilarity when another Vigilante turned up as a member of the Seven Soldiers of Victory, voiced by Ranger Gord, of course, who, as we speak, is appearing in the latest episode of JSA in the 90s, so we'd encourage you to check that out. And literally the same week that JLE 102 was published, and that was the issue where Vigilante was rescued by Green Arrow and Black Canary and Johnny Thunder, World's Finest Comics 214 came out. And so when we did that episode, Pete and I debated in a very light-hearted fashion, which Vigilante is it anyway? We sort of decided that this was the same guy who'd been in Adventure Comics, and this was the same guy that had been in JLA. And yes, listeners, there were two Vigilantes. There was an Earth 1 Vigilante. He was a guy that hung out with the Justice League and had solo stories, and it's him we're meeting again here. And yes, there was an Earth 2 one as well, but after JLE 102, he doesn't really get seen again until he pops up during the 40s in All-Star Squadron, but that's a long way in the future.
True.
So it is a welcome back. I'm being very long-winded about it, but I did do some research and checking. I wanted to go back to our older episodes and see what we said about it, but we have to get the context. So if we remember from Adventure Comics and World's Finest, Vigilante had sort of resumed his crime-fighting career in the present day after a few years of not doing so, and was basically, in a David Banner, Bill Bixby type way, was just kicking about America, righting wrongs, riding into small towns, fixing things up and riding out again. And this is where we are in World's Finest 244. Peter will start us with a caption.
He's been riding east. His name is Greg Saunders, and he's a country and western singing star. He is, however, unaware that fate has arranged an appointment here for his alter ego, the man called the Vigilante.
And we see what looks like the town square or outside a shopping centre in a small town. We can see Vigilante arriving on his motorbike. There's a big sign that reads, "You are entering Clearwater." So that's where we are. We can see there's a couple of clothing stores, an electrical appliance shop, a drugstore, and we see a young lady in a red blouse carrying a box from Lane's, which is the boutique she's just visited, obviously. And all of a sudden, there is a massive and a huge cloud of yellow dust and flame has blown up, and we are given the title of the story, which is handily written on the back of the young lady's box. Explosion
in a small town.
We get the credits very quickly.
Story by Bill Kunkel Art by John Calnan and Bob Smith.
Gosh, yes, an explosive start, definitely. Explosion in a small town, that sounds like the name of something or other, doesn't it? A Bruce Springsteen B-side or something. Anyway, pulling up on his bike in front of the young lady who's just been caught in this explosion, Vigilante thinks,
"What a reception. I'm going to have to move my tail if I'm going to save the little lady."
And he does move his tail, thank goodness, because we see the young woman being blown through the air, and he manages to catch her in the nick of time, it seems. She doesn't look as if she's unconscious, but she's certainly phased by it. A couple of young men come running up towards Vigilante. One guy in a smart shirt, we can see a badge on his shirt. He introduces himself to Vigilante by saying, "That was some riding. I'm the sheriff. Tom Blaine by name." They shake hands.
"I'm called
the Vigilante. Everybody knows that." And then another voice says,
"Yeah, like everybody knows about the explosions."
There's another gentleman who's pointing at what's just gone on. There's a whole crowd of men standing around now, various shapes and sizes. One man in a hard hat, I notice. We can see in the background the young lady who'd bought the dress is being helped over to an ambulance and taken off. That's good. After that interruption, the sheriff says to Vigilante, "Look, friend, I'm not too popular in Clearwater right now."
"Then let's adjourn over to your office. I'm a great listener."
There is a slow dissolve and a caption.
"Soon in Tom Blaine's private quarters."
Tom sat down. Vigilante's perched in a chair. You can see an angle poised lamp. There's a framed illustration of a gun on the wall, or maybe it's a framed gun, I don't know. It must be said, for a sheriff, Tom looks a bit lax to my eyes, with his long hair and his neck scarf. He's in the process of saying, "So that's how it was. In the 60s I was a street radical back east, but I was born here. So I came home, decided to work within the system, all of that, even got elected sheriff. Then the explosions began.
There were others?
Pharmacy, the pool, and now this." Tom slams his hand down on his desk for emphasis. "And with my political background, well, they all but accuse me of tossing them bombs myself. Which washes me up, I guess."
"Not yet, Tom. Think I'm going to plant myself here a while. See what I can turn up."
And as Vigilante takes his leave on his bike, Tom calls after him, saying, "But where will you be?"
"Just around."
And with a Vigilante goes speeding off. There's a slow dissolve.
"That's nice."
We're obviously in the swamp or the bayou or the woods or something. We can see an orange van which has written on the side, Piper Construction. And they're capable of work at the Home Office or for the market or for schools. There's a few men involved. We can see a couple of spades and shovels on the ground. They've obviously dug a big hole because they're loading the van up with boxes. One of them is labelled dynamite, and the guy that's got the last box out of the hole is passing it to a colleague, and he says,
"That's the last one."
The guy taking the box replies, "Where's this stuff going?" And one guy who's in the van stacking up the boxes contributes,
"Some new housing development, Clearwater Estates."
And all of this work is being watched by a slightly rotund gentleman who at this distance looks a bit like an aged Jimmy Doohan, wearing a stripy tie. He's got another chap standing next to him. The chap with the tie with a big belly is smoking a cigar there. Obviously the guys in charge, they're watching. And then over the page we see that all this is being watched through binoculars by the Vigilante. The older chap with the belly and the tie says to the boy beside him,
"Everything's set then, Joe?"
"No sweat, Mr. Piper."
"Good boy. This one goes down Friday night."
And then we get a nice shot of Vigilante. He must have super hearing, I think, listeners, don't you? Vigilante looking a bit cross-eyed as he takes his binoculars away, and he's obviously very thoughtful. And then there's a nice silhouette shot of him on his bike, riding off with a vroom. And there's a slow dissolve.
The following morning,
we're back in Tom Blaine's office. Vigilante's got his hands on Tom's desk. He's obviously having a heated exchange. Tom is saying, "Piper? Sure, I know him. He was sheriff here going on 20 years when I beat him. Now he runs the biggest construction outfit in the area."
"Tell me everything you know about this dude,"
says Vig, pointing at Tom for emphasis. Tom replies, "Well, he was pretty bitter about losing the election, especially to me. You can imagine what the campaign was like." And then we have another slow dissolve and another caption.
"Soon."
In the foreground is another devastatingly beautiful young lady carrying a box. Obviously lots of devastatingly beautiful young ladies in Clearwater. Riding behind, at least I hope he's riding. The bike might just actually be stock still. There's not much in the way of speed lines. Vigilante's in the background and he's in deep thought.
"This is all starting to fit together, and it makes a real ugly picture. Now if only I could find a way to..."
Vig pulls up sharply because he's just noticed a poster on the wall. It says, "Clearwater Concert Country Music Friday Night starring Jeremy Drake. See your favourite stars." And Vigilante sees this and thinks,
"Whoa, this is exactly what the Sawbones ordered. a country music concert in just the right night, and a phone booth.
Yes, because we can see a telephone box on the pavement. Vigilante, with a parcel under his arm, crosses to the phone box. And his thoughts continue inside.
Plain perfect for changing to my Greg Saunders identity. And you can even make a call.
Yes, we see Greg has removed his Vigilante gear and put on a cracking sort of tasseled shirt, which Mike Nesmith of the Monkees would have been proud of. But anyway, Greg picks up the receiver, dials, drops in a coin, and we hear him saying,
"Hello, Arnie, old hoss? How about you setting me up for the Clearwater concert Friday night?" "You can? Thanks, pard."
And there's another slow dissolve.
That Friday night, the whole town turns out for a concert with a special guest star.
Yes, we can see that this scene was obviously filmed on location at the Hydro or something. Massive big poster outside, Clearwater concert, country music, Friday night, Jeremy Drake. And we see a couple of sorts who are looking at a smaller version of the poster, which we can see advertises a special guest. And we find out the special guest through the dialogue. One young lad with dark hair exclaims,
"Wow, this is fantastic!"
And the red-haired girl with glasses is very enthused when she tells us that the special guest is Greg Saunders in Clearwater.
And inside...
Yes, oh, listeners, you're going to be delighted because Peter's going to get to sing. We see Greg Saunders on stage. We can see that the accompanying band are sort of mounted on platforms with scaffolding. That looks like an absolute hassle. Cammy would not be up for doing that at all. But anyway, Greg is singing away.
Ding 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 ding. I came back from Dakota with a locket by my side, but when I heard she'd left, I lay right down and cried.
Well, that wasn't bad. Round of applause, Dr. Watson. Well done. Very good.
I opened for Shania Twain in her 1999 European tour.
I saw Shania Twain on her 1999 European tour. I saw it at the exhibition centre in Glasgow, and I can't remember who supported her.
It was me.
I did buy a t-shirt because I had to, and it was years before I wore it. I didn't wear it until about 2014 or something, when it was one of those... We used to have these days in HMV where if you paid £1 to charity, you could wear a band t-shirt one day. So I remember Dan always wore a Def Leppard shirt, and I remember wearing my Shania t-shirt one day, much to the amusement of the Emmas. But anyway, Greg is bowing to the audience. Some of whom are trying to get autographs, and he's getting a great response. Lots of cheers and applause and stuff. And he is saying,
"I thank you most kindly, but here's the real star of the show, my buddy, Jeremy Drake."
And Jeremy walks on. He's got a nice flowery red shirt. We should mention that both guys play the guitars right-handed. And as Greg exits the stage, Jeremy says, "Well, we have the pleasure of hearing from you again, Greg."
"You surely will. See you in an hour."
And then we cut to an alleyway outside, and Greg has quickly got back into his Vigilante gear. He's running for his cycle, and he's thinking,
"Gotta get moving if I want to stop Piper. I'm just thankful for the concert. It'll keep people off the streets once the fireworks start."
And he zooms off, headlight on.
Within moments, the Vigilante watches as Piper and a former deputy load high explosives onto a truck.
Yes, we see the Piper construction van, Piper and his pal loading the boxes of dynamite onto the truck, as Peter said in the caption. And Joe is saying, "Everybody's at the concert."
"Don't worry. We'll make such a big bang, they'll hear it."
Big Bang, a reference there to the closing episode of the 2010 series of Doctor Who, Don't Say We're Not Good to You. Vigilante stands in his vantage point in the building overlooking them, moves into the light and says,
"Still trying to hang a frame on Sheriff Blaine? Still trying to regain your power in this town, Piper?"
The baddies whirl and see him. Piper cries,
"The Vigilante!"
Joe says, "How'd he tumble to your plan?"
"Never mind. Grab that scattergun and blow him away."
And Joe quickly reaches for the gun that's in the cabin of the truck. Vigilante, however, says,
"A bad idea."
and fires off a couple of shots.
Blam blam!
My arm!
He shot Joe! And I plumb hate to shoot you next.
Piper gets a close-up. He looks like he's gone mad. He opens one of the boxes and grabs one of the sticks of dynamite, saying,
"You won't have to."
And Vigilante gets a dynamic close-up as he thinks,
his henchman was standing away from the explosive. I could risk a shot, but Piper's right on top of the stuff.
We see that Piper the madman is using his cigar to light the stick of dynamite. He's saying,
"I'm finished, washed up, but I'm taking you to hell with me."
Back to Vigilante, who's thinking,
"He's gone loco. Gotta get out of here pronto."
He looks to his right and sees
that church steeple, my only chance.
And Vig pulls the rope from his shoulder and lassos the spire, as a caption reads,
With mere seconds to spare, the vigilante swings towards the steeple as an earth-shaking explosion rends the night behind him.
Yes, as Vigilante swings through the air, below him there's an enormous... And a very small caption reads,
Then...
Vigilante is standing on the ground. There's a massive crater in front of him, smoke coming out of it. Sheriff Blaine runs up and says, Is that what I reckon it is?
Yep. Piper took the hard way out. I'll be moseying on, son. Hasta la vista. My job's done.
And Sheriff Blaine can only wave as Vigilante climbs back onto his motorbike, which seems to have appeared from nowhere, and rides off, thinking,
Besides, Greg Saunders promised the town another song. As soon as the excitement's died down, that is.
And we close on a caption that reads,
For the vigilante, the excitement never dies down. See you next issue, hombres.
Well, let's try and work out what was going on there, shall we?
It is a bit disjointed. Yes, I do agree.
Yes, obviously, Sheriff Blaine did earlier on say that he was worried that people think he might be doing it because of his background as a bit of an insurgent. That line about accused of tossing the bombs around himself. So Piper was obviously playing on that, we think.
Yes. Those filthy hippies. Let's just pin everything in those filthy hippies.
Yeah.
It was a bit tenuous, to be honest. And also the fact that he's suicidal by the end of it. He'd rather blow himself up than get caught or found out. It's really weird. It's quite a weak storyline, I'll be honest.
I wonder if Joe got away. Or was Joe killed as well? Because Joe falls against the truck. And obviously Piper climbs up onto the back of the truck there. Yeah, it's a bit grim. I mean, Piper's obviously got some issues, I think.
Yes, definitely. I've got some issues with this story.
Well, keep going.
So after Viggy's chat with the sheriff, he rides off and suddenly he's at the exact spot where they seem to be digging up the dynamite from a hole in the ground in the middle of a swamp.
Yes, it's very lucky.
How did he know exactly where that was taking place? Why was it there in the first place? It's so weird. How did Vidge know all this?
I guess because the dynamite must be illegal. They're maybe not supposed to have it, and they've hidden it in the swamp so that that's their base to operate from. You know, they keep it hidden there when they're not causing the explosions, and they're thinking that no one's going to go out to the swamp to look for them. So I'm guessing Vigilante must have spied some tracks that the van might have made or something.
Should have been.
But it's very lucky indeed that Greg managed to find them so quickly. It's also especially lucky that they didn't hear him riding off on his bike with that big zoom sound effect.
Yes, considering he could hear what they were saying. Or was that just a special attachment on his binoculars? And then he goes...
Everyone knows Vigilante has super hearing.
Yes.
That's one of his powers.
My goodness. Yeah, I thought that was quite bizarre and fun. Then, of course, he rides into town and decides to get changed in a phone booth.
Yes, basically in plain sight. Because it's the following day, because he's going in to speak to the sheriff. And then he spots the phone booth and just... The phone booths have tinted glass in America or something. I don't know.
Maybe some did. Maybe the light was reflecting off the glass. Maybe it was a very bright day and you couldn't really see inside.
You're being too generous.
Maybe if you want you in a phone booth, you just let people have their privacy. Things can happen in phone booths. Maybe back then, in those days. Who knows?
Who can say? Listeners, especially those of you who are around America in the mid-70s, tell us what the phone booths were like.
Yes.
Perhaps comment on one of the photographs featuring the phone booth on the album on our Facebook page. People will tell you about that later on. Yeah, I mean...
Yes.
Greg's obviously, he's a travelling troubadour. He's obviously got an agent who he can call and get him onto the bill at the last minute. He must have a previous relationship with Jeremy Drake that he can get himself just added on.
That's quite cool, yeah.
The kind of implication is that Vigilante is like, fighting crime, but I still need to earn a crust.
Yeah.
So he's found himself a paying gig at the last minute. That's brilliant.
I know.
He's not going to knock that back. So he's obviously thinking, right, the concert's a good thing because it's going to keep people off the streets.
Yeah.
And I'm now sort of thinking, what was the next target going to be for Piper and Joe? I mean, everyone's at the concert. Don't worry, we'll make such a big bang, they'll hear it. So were they going to blow up the housing development they talked about earlier on? Was that what they were going to do? Were they going to attack the concert? I think if they'd made that clear that they were going to attack the concert, that might have raised the stakes a little bit.
I think they were more into property damage while people were away. I don't think they were actually looking to kill anyone from the looks of things.
Yeah, I think so, aye. Yeah.
So yeah, it probably would have been while everyone's away, let's blow up as much as we can.
Yeah.
Which is weird. I must say, if Bob Rozakis was writing this story, there's no way the other singer would be called Jeremy Drake. He'd be called something like Johnny Money or Dylan Bobson or something like that. You know?
Yes, or Willie Trafalgar or something.
Oh yeah, of course.
Yeah, that had occurred to me actually. Jeremy Drake's a bit ordinary for a country singer.
Yeah, but Bob Rozakis one would definitely have had a gag in there. Mm-hmm.
Drake, is there a Sunday Bird that I'm not thinking of? I don't know. Anyway,
it's not Nick Drake, obviously, but it's entirely the wrong style. Listeners, if you can think, is this actually a take on someone, please let us know.
Yeah, it's probably obvious we're missing it. I like the end when Veg just climbs on the bike and rides off, presumably to go back to the hydro to go back on for the encore.
Yes, the sheriff sees the blazing crater, runs forward to Vigilante and saying, "Is that what I think it is?" And Vig says, "Yep, my job's done. Bye.
Vroom. See you later.
These people are just blowing up. For all you know, I killed that guy and maybe a couple other guys who might be in the vicinity.
Yes.
But I'm finished. Offski, you can do the paperwork. I'm not going to explain anything. Bye-bye.
No evidence, no corroborating witnesses. You just have to take my word for it.
Yep.
I suppose there's not much you can do in 8 pages, and I suppose in a way the brevity of it is the whole point.
Yeah.
But it was good. It's interesting. I do sort of wonder because, Vig appears in a few stories over the next few issues of World's Finest. We're going into them all, listeners, obviously. Yeah. And I sort of wonder, were these maybe prepared around about the time of Adventure Comics? Adventure Comics appearances,
Could be.
Before it shifted into the Adventurers Club and then shifted into Weird Adventure, have these maybe been on the shelf for a couple of years?
Might have been.
I definitely feel that next issues was, but I'll talk about that next week.
Mm-hmm.
I know, I like this. It's good to see him back because I remember when we talked about the Adventure Comics stories and the World's Finest appearance and stuff, that we sort of thought, there was definitely, if you pardon the pun, mileage in a series about Vigilante floating around America, in a hard-travelling heroes type way,
Exactly, yeah. Or, as we said, the Incredible Hulk TV series, or the Little Slobo, or anything of that.
Yeah. It's an interesting one, that one. We'll see what happens next. This brings us to the Wonder Woman story. We're just going to give you a quick summary of before we have a chat about it. Now, I'll point out that it mentions that it's set during World War II, but there's no mention of Earth 2 in this one. Pete and I sort of came to the conclusion when we were doing the Cheetah story the other week that this is stories set in the TV series continuity, really.
Yeah.
In that continuum. And it's Earth 2, but not really.
Earth TV. Mm-hmm.
Apart from the ones which have established characters turning up or characters who will be more significant in the future. So yes, the story here is entitled Jeopardy Times 2, written by Denny O'Neil, art by Josie Delbo and Vinnie Coletta, who obviously have been working on the regular book. Basically, we see Diana talking to a collie called Susie, who's having boyfriend trouble, and Steve Trevor, sent on a mission by General Blankenship, or so Steve thinks. The general is being impersonated by the German Ludwig von Schiemer. I can never remember what this is called. Is it something normative predestination, something like that?
Yes.
Who is a self-proclaimed master of disguise, who also has the general held captive at the general's house. Diana's suspicions are raised when she sees some paperwork lying about in the general's office, and Wonder Woman heads to the general's house, tackles the goons outside before confronting Ludwig and using her lasso to make him tell her his plans. Trouble is, he doesn't know exactly what Steve was off to do. So Wonder Woman has to find Steve, and Wonder Woman also has to find Susie, because she thinks Susie might have known what was going on, and she has to rescue Susie from a mugger. I was sort of expecting Susie's boyfriend to turn up involved in the plot, but that didn't actually happen. Ludwig is released by his colleague Emil, and they head to the Lincoln Memorial, which is where Steve is to make his rendezvous. Emil and Ludwig also take another bomb in case Steve's doesn't work. Yes, Steve has a bomb in his briefcase. They're basically trying to assassinate some other guys. Wonder Woman deals with both bombs by throwing them into the sky, and she deals with Ludwig and Emil by throwing them into the Lincoln Memorial. So now, listeners, you can see why we didn't bother reading this one entirely.
Yeah, it's a bit pedestrian. It's not hugely exciting.
Yes, I think if this had been an issue of the regular series, we'd have been furious.
Yeah.
There's a nice opening splash image, which we might put on the socials this week. Wonder Woman tackling 2 giant swastika-labelled bombs, but it's a bit misleading. It doesn't really happen. The main sort of thing I noticed for this one, bear this in mind for next week, listeners. Steve still has kind of brown hair. Okay? Just bear that in mind.
Okay.
But, the artwork's nice. Definitely looks like Linda Carter.
There you go.
Yeah, any thoughts on this story then, Pizzi?
It definitely feels like, the unwanted stepchild of the main Wonder Woman series at this moment. It feels like this was just filler.
Yeah.
It's like they didn't have anything to say. Whereas I think it's quite exciting what's happening in the main Wonder Woman series. We had the two Dianas, that team up. The Red Panzer!
Yeah.
And then we've had the return of the Cheetah. That feels quite exciting. You know, it's like experimenting.
Yeah.
This feels like they're trying to tie it into the TV show, but it's a filler episode of the TV show.
Yeah, it is filler, no killer. It's really quite ordinary.
Yeah.
It's worth a look in a way because it's still using the General, it's still using Steve, but I think it just screams inventory, backup story, keep this just in case we missed the deadline, doesn't it? It's really not very good at all.
Exactly.
So there.
Oh, well.
It's worth pointing out, listeners, before the Wonder Woman story starts, there's a full page advertisement from the next issue of World's Finest, issue 245, which we're going to do next week. And is that the Martian Manhunter? Is that the Vigilante? Is that a giant grizzly bear menacing Wonder Woman? Are those Nazis shooting at Wonder Woman on skis? Oh my goodness. We just have to wait. But yes, we're going to skip to the letters for issue 244.
Yes, let's do so. So grab your copy of issue 246.
And the first letter goes like this. Dear Editor, World's Finest 244 was a perfect issue from cover to cover. First, the Neil Adams cover was a beautiful piece of art, and I hope he draws more covers like this from now on. Did we mention that was a Neil Adams cover at the top?
I don't think we did, no.
Oops. Well, we're mentioning it now, yes, and I wish I'd continued to keep the tally, etc., etc. Our correspondent continues, the opening story, 3 billion targets, was spectacular. I was very surprised to see the art team of Jose Garcia Lopez and Murphy Anderson. Even though the art was good, I would rather see Murphy Anderson teamed up with Kurt Swan in Action and Superman. Next, the Black Canary and Green Arrow stories were the highlights of the issue. I would like to congratulate, and he lists Jack C. Harris, Tony Isabella, etc., for producing two of the best GA and BC stories I have ever seen. Last, but not least, was the Wonder Woman story. Jeopardy Times 2, which was also good, even though I'm not very happy about the Golden Age Wonder Woman being in World's Finest. Jose Delbo and Vince Coletta's artwork is still as good as it was, even though they've added 12 more stories to their schedule. Before I end this letter, I would like to thank Denny Neal, Jeanette Kahn, and anyone else who helped produce World's Finest. And that's from Anthony Costa from Blue, listeners. We've had letters from him before. Sherwood Drive, New York. No mention of Vigilante there. Oh well.
No, none at all. Obviously not a fan in this perfect issue that he read. My goodness.
Yes.
Oh well, editorial response says, and we thank you, Anthony. You hit the consensus right down the line. Most readers were satisfied with the Superman and Batman tale, thought the Wonder Woman story was passable, suggested other features to replace Vigilante, and loved the Green Arrow and Black Canary stories. And the next letter goes, Dear Editor, when I see a magazine like World's Finest in the new dollar size, I see a tremendous area of potentiality. Although billed as a return to the Golden Age format of many years ago, it is more reminiscent to today's fan of DC's 100-page giants of only a few years back, with one slight difference. New stories and art. Did I say slight? Tremendous is more like it. With the amount of pages you have to fill each month, one can look forward to a virtual endless stream of wonderful stories from you creative DC people. I would like it more if, with the exception of Superman, Batman and Wonder Woman, you had a varied roundup of heroes each issue. Or perhaps, if you feel like tackling a hefty project, have one novel-length story. Maybe this would be just the place to feature an adaptation of the upcoming Superman movie. You will be doing an adaptation, I hope. And after all, just who is the world's finest hero? Yes, this new dollar comic size is full of portent. I only hope it is used to its fullest extent possible. I, for one, am supporting this project by buying all your dollar comics. And that's from Mr. Moneybags, Frank Antonides, from Lake Drive, New Jersey.
Frank does make an excellent point there. We should probably address this just now. Like, these dollar comics are extraordinary value for money.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
You know, as they've said, 80 pages worth of all new material. Like, and it's not just here, it's in GI Combat, it's in Superman Family.
Mm-hmm.
Batman Family shifts to the dollar comic format, doesn't it, as well?
Yep. And then goes to Detective, yeah.
Is it House of Mystery or Unexpected? It goes to the dollar comic format. I can't remember.
House of Mystery.
House of Mystery, yeah, because there's some good Neil Adams covers at the start there as well. It's astonishing that they were able to create this volume of, you know, it's basically like starting another half a dozen new comics almost worth of material, isn't it?
Certainly is. I think this is one of the things that Jeanette Kahn definitely wanted to do when she first started at DC.
Yeah.
As the new big boss.
Yeah.
And we're not complaining.
No, not at all.
Because it's terrific stuff. Yeah. More, please.
So yes, we'd better go on with the editorial response to Frank then. They say an adaptation of the Superman movie. To be truthful, you're the first one who suggested such a project. Although we agree as to the identity of the world's finest hero, we think that such an adaptation would be better suited to our new tabloid-sized $2 limited collector's editions. We'll mention it to Ms. Khan.
Oh, there you go.
As for rotating heroes in World's Finest, we're against it. We want a strong following in World's Finest, and if we rotate the features, you'll not be able to follow your particular favourite.
Mm-hmm.
We'd really get swamped with letters from irate Black Canary and Green Arrow fans if we suddenly pulled them out in favour of someone else. But there will be a lineup change soon. What? Who? Just keep reading, and you'll have your clues.
Well, the fact they haven't mentioned Vigilante, I think, is clue enough.
Yes.
In most of these responses.
And obviously, not to preempt things too much, but, there's one other series which we've done a couple of issues from this year. We'll be doing a couple more issues from fairly soon, which doesn't really last too much longer and shifts into World's Finest. And there's a couple of other books that only run a little bit longer before ending up in Adventure Comics, etc., etc. I think most of our listeners know what we're talking about, but we'll get there in time.
Yes, stay tuned.
And we better have the final letter. Dear Sir, the new $1 size World's Finest is fantastic. Why not occasionally feature Tomahawk, Rip Hunter, The Shadow, and The Joker as backup stories? Also, Tim Trench, Elongated Man, and John Jones. And that's from Reed Campbell, Pittsburgh, PA.
Like virtually every other letter we received in the new World's Finest, you have given us a long list of DC alumni you'd like to see in World's Finest. We've given this a great deal of thought, and we'll make our official announcement next issue. Many of you may already know. We'll be replacing one of the World's Finest features with an old character that has a recent increase in popularity. As a clue, remember it will be produced by the same two creative gentlemen who have recently launched another new book under the editorship of World's Finest new editor. Oh yes, World's Finest has a new editor. We won't mention his name, but his initials are JCH. Says Jack C. Harris. Now, reading between the lines there, I think I know what they're referring to, but I'm not going to say that in here. I'll say it to Peter once we've finished recording. Yes, I think I know who you're talking about. Not that I'm trying to throw shade at anything or anyone, but it's quite easy to work out, isn't it? Mm-hmm. I mean, yes, awful. I apologise. And listeners, believe it or not, there are some more letters in the next issue dealing with issue 244. Dear Sirs, I'm writing to tell you what an impression you made of me with your first World's Finest dollar comic, issue 244. It must have made an impression, since after 11 years of reading comics, this is the first time I've sent in a letter. First, the cover. It wasn't an action-filled one, but it was a real eye-grabber, and I'm certain it attracted more eyes than mine. Second, the Superman and Batman story, 3 Billion Targets, was an exceptional story with excellent artwork. But in the story, Superman says that by coming back in time, Barton has changed the future, and the terrible future he told Supes and Bats about will never happen. Knowing Barton will never believe this, Superman stops Barton from killing everyone. All Superman knows at this point is that the future will be different. He doesn't know if it will be better or worse. Well, in fairness, he travels into the future all the time. Anyway, couldn't Superman have checked up on this before he stopped Barton's plan? That was all chat about Superman and Batman story that we didn't cover. Third, my favourite part of the whole book, the Black Canary and Green Arrow stories. They were really great. They both had a lot of action and quite a few action-filled scenes with no dialogue. For example, in Green Arrow page 7, the car chase scene, which we mentioned, really came through with all the action of a movie. The Nasser Austin art was fantastic. Keep them together. Next, there's the Vigilante, who for the most part was boring. In my opinion, he doesn't have much potential. Oh dear. Last is Wonder Woman, who has always been one of my favourites. The art was good, but having her fighting common crooks in World War II is boring. We agreed. Bring her back to 1977, please. All in all, except for the Vigilante and Wonder Woman, you folks did a really nice job and should be congratulated. So, congratulations, says Linda Pepe from Briarwood Drive, Holland, PA. And the editorial response reads, thank you, and not to single out the praise in your letter, let's go on with answering your questions. For every time paradox a writer pulls in a story, there are over 1 million possible explanations. Sure, Superman could have checked out what Barton's time meddling could cause, but how could he be sure? With all the possibilities for different timelines into the future, the one Barton mentioned was known to be a bad one. Any alternative was preferable. Any other answer to this problem must come from you readers. Well, listeners, spoilers. The Vigilante will soon be ready off into the sunset, but we haven't seen the last of him. As for Wonder Woman's World War II adventures, readers seem to be equally divided on the subject. We think Jerry Conway's creation of Baron Blitzkrieg will fill your desire from something more than common crooks. He has other supervillains lined up, including a few from Wonder Woman's Golden Age, and that's signed Jack C. Harris. Gasp. Gosh. Baron Blitzkrieg.
So one more letter to go in 244. Dear editor, the new World's Finest comes closer to deserving that description than anything else on the comic racks today. The daring and imagination of the conception of such a format alone deserves congratulations. This person is at it. Turning to the contents of the mag, the World's Finest team of old was a wise selection to make for the lead tale. 3 billion targets was well plotted and fast moving enough to hide the fact that the story was not exceptionally original. What? It was great! Bob Haney built up suspense very nicely though, and his dialogue was quite good. Damning with faint praise. Jose Garcia Lopez is beginning to grow on me. He has a nice eye for detail, action and emotion. Murphy Anderson's inks looked very good. Gosh, and they chose to print this letter, listeners. Black Canary and Green Arrow were two of the reasons I bought the mag. The other was curiosity, and I was not disappointed with their adventures. Jack C. Harris did an excellent job on Rainbows of Doom. Seldom has the Bird Lady's character been so well portrayed. The first-person narration was particularly effective. Slings and Arrows was terrific. The name in the credits could have been Denny O'Neill or Elliot Magan. That's a compliment to Tony Isabella, by the way. There was really no plot to speak of, but oh, how those fight and chase scenes were done. With the success of the MacLeod TV series, maybe it's a good time to revive the Vigilante. Explosions in a small town was a cute little story and a nice change of pace from the rest of the issue. I liked the Wonder Woman tale, Jeopardy ×2, especially since Denny seemed to capture some of the warmth Linda Carter brings to the role. I hate to be comparing the writer to the video medium, but you brought it on yourself when this format was selected. Enough already. I'll just say that overall Clarkson, I was extremely pleased with World's Finest 244, and I predict success for the dollar comic concept. And that's from Beth Montaloni, Rochester, New York.
Jack C. Harris says, what more can we say to that? Nothing, except to see if our success continues. Be back next issue to see what you fellow readers thought about issue 245.
Indeed.
Meanwhile, you can comment on this issue. Wow, there we are. That was exciting.
Quite a positive response to the new format there for World's Finest.
Yep, not much champion of the Vigilante.
Yeah. A shocking lack of chat about Vig.
It's terrible. I don't know. Obviously, Ranger Gord wasn't writing in at this time.
Or was he?
Or was he? Yes, we should reiterate as well, we should definitely be listening to Prairie Justice, Ranger Gord's amazing Vigilante dedicated podcast. It is sensational stuff.
Very much so.
Every time an episode comes out, we devour it immediately. It's fantastic. It's a lot of fun.
And we'll post a link to it in the show notes, etc. for this episode.
Absolutely.
Yeah, we should do that.
Mm-hmm.
We like to support those who've helped us out in the past, etc.
And may in the future.
Lending their voices and all such sort of thing. Indeed, indeed, indeed. Yes. Is Ranger Gord on standby, listeners? Wait and see. Right. So that was our thoughts on World's Finest 244.
But what are yours? Why don't you write to us and let us know? You can email us at theearth2podcast@gmail.com. Make sure you check out our social media because we're putting up lots of lovely bonus material for this and, of course, every single episode. On Facebook, Instagram and Blue Sky, we're at the Earth 2 Podcast, and on Twitter, we're at podcast_Earth2, and it is, of course, the number 2 for all of our socials.
It certainly is. Listeners, if you're feeling generous, if you're enjoying the show, please consider going to wherever it is you receive your podcasts and leaving us a positive review, or you might want to think about sharing some of our posts on social media or telling your pals. Spread the word at your local comic shop, etc. We've finally reached 1977. This is so exciting. We're now into 1977. We've left 1976 behind.
Yes.
We're going to be in 1977 for a while still, though, listeners. Lots of good stuff to come. Isn't that right, Peter?
It most certainly is. We can now queue up to get our tickets for Star Wars. Yippee!
Oh, wow. Gosh. Challenge extended. Can we rustle together a portmanteau featuring characters of the same name as people from Star Wars? Challenge extended, Peter. Yes, Ivan David. We'll see you in 7 days for some more World's Finest action on
the Earth 2 Podcast. Yeehaw!
Transmatter cube activated. Return coordinates set for Earth Prime.
Wow, this is fantastic.
And the red-haired girl... That was very Dylan. That's funny.